It's not a job most people dream of, I guess. Mortician. I prepare the dead for their final goodbyes. It's quiet work, mostly. Precise. I've seen a lot in my time here, but nothing prepares you for some things, and nothing prepared me for him. This started about a month ago, maybe a little more. It's all a bit fuzzy now for reasons that will become clear. I remember the day it shifted, though. I just finished with a young woman. A girl, really. Late teens, maybe early 20s. The report said suicide. Gunshot to the face. A messy, tragic end. Her body was odd. Not in a gruesome way, not more than usual for that kind of trauma. But her shoulders, they seemed to sag. Just a little too much, even in death. Even with me working to make her presentable. As if she'd been carrying something immense for a very long time. Her parents, when they came to make arrangements, were devastated, of course. They kept saying she'd been struggling with anxiety. Kept talking about a weight. Said she always complained about a terrible weight on her shoulders, a physical burden nobody else could see or understand. They said she insisted it wasn't just a feeling, it was real. I nodded, listened. Grief does strange things to people, makes them fixate on details. I did my work, tried to offer what little comfort I could. She was buried a few days later, and then he started appearing. The old man. Every morning, without fail, when I arrived at the mortuary building, he'd be there, waiting, leaning against the cold brick wall by the entrance, or sometimes just standing, swaying slightly, like a dried-up reed in a non-existent wind. He was old, impossibly old, it felt like. Not just wrinkled and gray, but ancient. Skeletal is the only word that comes close. His skin was like old parchment, stretched so tight over his bones you could see their outline. His cheekbones, his jaw, the knobbly joints of his fingers. He was abnormally thin, as if he hadn't eaten a proper meal in a century. His clothes were rags, thin and dirty, offering no protection against the morning chill. And every single day, the same routine. I'd see him from down the block, a knot tightening in my stomach. I'd try to walk a little faster, maybe look at my phone, pretend I didn't see him. It never worked. As I'd approach the door, he'd shuffle forward, his movements slow, agonizing. One hand, gnarled and trembling, would extend towards me. His eyes, sunk deep in their sockets, were like old, clouded marbles, but they'd fix on me with an unnerving intensity. "Spare change, son." His voice was a dry rasp, like sandpaper on wood. Just a little something, for an old man. Always the same words, always that same pleading, yet somehow demanding tone. He never got aggressive, never raised his voice. Just that persistent, quiet begging. The first few times I felt a pang of pity. He looked so wretched. I gave him $1, maybe 2. He'd snatch it with surprising speed, his thin lips pulling back in what might have been a smile, or maybe just a grimace. Then he'd shuffle away, disappearing around the corner. But he was back the next day, and the next, and the next. My pity started to wear thin. It became an annoyance, a daily irritation I had to navigate just to get to work. Why me? There were other people going into the building, other businesses on the same block, but he only ever approached me. He'd be there when I arrived and gone by the time anyone else showed up. It was like he knew my schedule. I started to ignore him. I'd walk past, eyes straight ahead, headphones in even if I wasn't listening to anything. He'd still try. That raspy voice would follow me. "Son? Just a little something?" I'd feel his gaze on my back until I was through the door. It made my skin crawl. The building manager saw him a couple of times, shooed him away. He'd go, docile as a lamb, but the next morning he'd be back, waiting for me,